Welcome back to Grassroots Media. Welcome to this year's edition of the Malone's Record Service Betsy Shaw Show, presented by Critters Corner, where we cover everything on the court with the West Greene Lady Buffaloes basketball team. As always, I'm joined here with head coach Betsy Shaw. Coach, it's been a while since we sat down. How have you been?
Good. How have you been?
I've been all right. Kicked off the season last night. We're a little late. I didn't come before the season started. I'm here just a day after. You picked up a win over Claiborne yesterday, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. But before we do, for those that weren't at the game last night, and for those that haven't read the preview article yet, and you haven't read the preview article yet, subscribe to Grassroots Media and read that, because you'll get a more in-depth look at it than we're about to talk about right here. But let's go through the team. Let's talk a little bit. Talk about who's on the roster. Talk about the conference outlook and everybody. So take us through the team and tell us what to expect from the Lady Buffaloes in 2024.
I'm excited. I mean, it's a good start to win the first game, especially.
Absolutely. No better way to start.
Yeah. I've got a lot of players who do a lot of really, really good things. They're really good at their roles or whatever their role may be.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of players, and most of my rosters are turning. We lost 3 seniors, 2 of those starters, but most of the players are returning, and then I've got a couple new freshmen in. So.
And then the conference outlook this year, it's 6 teams again this year. You had Hampton that moved up last year, and they're going to go back down to 1A following this year. But for the time being, of course, they're within the conference. They came in last year, won the conference. They're looking to do the same this year. I know you're looking to get a better seed going into the district tournament this year to look to advance to the region tournament once again. So the conference outlook at the moment, I know we're pretty young. You're only 1 day into the regular season. Some teams haven't even started their regular season yet. But at this point in time right now, what can you expect in the conference this year?
It's tough every year. Every game's tough, and everybody wants to be at the top at the end of the season. So it's I expect every conference game to be a challenge, no matter who it is. But I'm hoping that we do a lot better than last year. So yes.
And we'll talk about some of the early games. Of course, we've got Claiborne to talk about, and we'll talk about University High coming up on Friday, and then the Hardy's Classic coming up next week. But after that, you've got a pretty tough schedule this year. I know you've got the district schedule. It's always tough going from football to basketball because you go from talking about a region to a district. But the district schedule, of course, you've got Hampton twice, South Greene twice, Chuckey Doak twice, Happy Valley twice, Johnson County twice. But outside of that, you've got a pretty good non-conference schedule. You've got the Hardy's Classic that we'll talk about in the second half. You've got the Ladies Classic, which is always a tough draw. And besides that, you've got a lot of good non-conference home and away series. So talk about some of those non-conference games and how you think they'll shape you going down the road into conference play.
We tried to mix it up this year with some non-conference. Somebody different, Hancock, we don't.
Okay.
And then we're going to Cosby right before the district tournament, try to help prepare us better for the district tournament. It's a really tough environment at Cosby. So, Cherokee, they're close, but they're always tough. So me and Coach Charlie tried to mix it up just a little bit with some of the teams that we typically schedule. And then this, North Greene too, we always play them. But the scheduling was a little different. Sometimes we try to get Washburn. That didn't work out this year. So just a couple different teams that hopefully prepare us better for conference games.
And then let's talk about the win against Claiborne. That's the best thing we can talk about because there's no better way to start the season than with a win. And you got a big win over Claiborne last night, 66-37. Had a lot of great performances by a lot of girls last night. So take me through that game and how great it was to start your season with a victory.
It was good. I think 9 players went in and 8 of them scored or something like that. So Morgan scored 21. So, man, she had a great night. Offensively and defensively, she got several steals that set her up for some layups. Then she made a bunch of 3-pointers too. She had a good night. I think they all did. Everybody went in. They contributed something to the team. Joey had a double-double. She had 11 rebounds. I can't remember the points.
That's something that we're going to hear a lot this year, I feel like.
Yeah.
Seeing her with a double-double.
Emily was a point guard. She did a great job commanding the offense. Last year was her first year as point guard, and this has been, just her second year. But she did a good job with the offense, and she scored some points for us too. And Peyton, when she was in, she got in a little foul trouble. She scored 10 points in the first half.
That's still great, though. Even though you're in foul trouble, still get into double figures. That's great.
She's a freshman, so I'm more excited about her too. And then, everybody come in off the bench. Sarah Justice, she started, but she did a great job rebounding. And Madison, she played last year. She did a good job down low, especially in that 2-3. And Neva and Mallory come in as well and play some really good defense for us. So it it was a really good team win last night. It was fun when you win. Yeah.
Absolutely, it's always fun. You can rest a little easier and not knowing that
Yeah.
you got to win. But the first name that you mentioned, of course, with 21 points was Morgan Brown.
Yeah.
She's a 4-year starter now. It feels like she's been here for way longer than that too, just because she's been a main contributor each and every single season that she's played. And getting her on the court the first game and having her lead you in scoring with 20 points, that's something I think we had talked about a lot last year, was you need to get her going and getting her involved, even if it's not just scoring, but whether it's defense and whether it's finding the open shooters, you need to get her involved, and you're able to do that the first game. So how great was it to see your senior leader perform as well as she did in her first game as a senior?
I think it's to be expected from her.
Yeah.
I really do. And, she sets a lot of stuff up for herself. I mean, she really does. And her not being the point guard helps a little bit, too. She's typically oftentimes the one that gets the ball in their hands the first time. So, it helps her have the ball versus having to pass it off as a point guard. And so her and Emily are going to switch some as point guards, to try to alleviate some of the pressure, the constant. But, it helps that she's not the point guard, I think, as well.
And it feels like she's been a senior leader for 2 years now, because I remember I called her a senior last year, and I forgot that she wasn't a senior because it feels like she's been here for way longer than she's been here, because she started every single season now. But she is a true senior leader now as a senior, instead of being like a senior leader as a junior. But it's great to see her get going. It's great to see you get a win on the first game of the season. Moving forward into University High now, you've got another game here at home on Friday night. And before we talk about that too much, though, we need to get a word in from our sponsors first. So we'll go ahead and take a break and talk about that game in the Hardee's Classic right after this break here on Grassroots Media.
Pizza Inn offers contactless buffet to go with JoJo's Family Feast or anything on our menu for carryout. We also honor birthday parties and cater to businesses and large events. We make it easy. Call us today. Pizza Inn Greenville.
For more than 30 years, Tommy's Plumbing has served customers in East Tennessee with licensed and professional plumbing services. From installing your new faucet to replacing your existing piping system, our team at Tommy's Plumbing is trained to handle the job with professionalism, attention to detail, and integrity. By offering warranties on most products installed by our technicians, Tommy's Plumbing stands behind our work, ensuring that your plumbing needs are not only met, but that your problem is solved for the long term. When you need reliable and professional plumbing service, Tommy's is the only call to make. So give us a call today and let us show you the Tommy's difference.
Welcome back to Grassroots Media. Welcome back to this week's edition of the Malone Trekker Service Betsy Shaw Show, presented by Critters Corner, where we cover everything on the court with the West Greene Lady Buffaloes basketball team. As always, I'm joined here with head coach Betsy Shaw. So you've got a game coming up this Friday, and then you move next week into the Gibbs Thanksgiving Classic, not the Hardee's Classic. I misspoke right before we went to break, but you get one more regular season game before you go into a tournament setting with UH on Friday. You get it here at home, of course, so you get another Hall of Champions game here that you get to host. Coming up on Friday, what can we expect in your game against UH?
We played them this summer, but, that's tough to compare this summer.
Yeah.
Personnel switch, and, we had a couple girls that didn't play this summer that's playing now for injuries, and so you never know what to expect. But I know what to expect from us, but, you never know what to expect from the other team. So we'll see.
And, of course, bouncing back from a win over Claiborne, too, you'd like to keep it going and start the season 2-0. And, of course, take both games at home, too. So how much of a confidence boost would it be for your young team to be able to start the season 2-0 going into that tough Thanksgiving Classic next week?
I think it's a great confidence boost. It's practice goes easier when you win. It really does. It's everybody does better and wants to come to practice when you're winning. So it's great way to start the year.
I think everybody can attest and agree to that. When you win, it makes just life in general a lot easier.
It does.
Too. You go to bed a little easier. You wake up in a better mood. You go throughout the day and teach in a better mood. You get to practice and you're in a better mood. When you lose, depending on how bad the loss was, it can really affect you. So to be able to start the week 2-0 would be huge going into that Thanksgiving Classic, where you start out with some tough competition against Cosby. And take us through that Thanksgiving Classic. I know that the only game that we know at the moment is Cosby, because in a tournament setting, you don't know who you're going to play until that game before or after you finishes. So take us through the Classic. Tell us some of the teams that are in the pool and who you can match up against, and the game against Cosby.
We start out with Cosby. They're tough. I expect them to press us the entire time, and so we've worked a ton on that. So I'm hoping to have, be able to handle the basketball. And if not, we'll make some adjustments where we need to. And it's good to have a tough tournament schedule, before we get into some more of those games you're just, talking about with the conference play. So it's good to start out with them. And then whether we win or lose, we play Gibbs. There was a team that dropped out, so now they're on both sides of the bracket. The bottom bracket's is a little tough too, but that will be the first 2 games regardless if we win or lose. So first off, Cosby and then Gibbs.
I know going over there to Knoxville, you'll probably see a few other teams in that pool that you probably don't see any other time during the year. Who are some of those other teams in this Thanksgiving Classic?
Morristown East is another one, and then Carter County out of Knoxville, and then I think Campbell County was another one that was in it.
So, yeah, there's some teams in there that were outside of that Classic that you would never see, whether it's a district tournament, region tournament, or anything like that. But that's kind of good to see teams like that because it prepares you down the road in in a tournament setting like the district tournament, like the region tournament, where you don't know who you're going to play until that game finishes. You have to get an early practice in to prepare. So, do you like kind of the Thanksgiving tournaments in a way? I know it's early into the season. You don't really know what to expect, and I used this in another interview today, but you're not really a polished team yet. You barely got any polish on you because you're going to get 2 games in before you move into that Thanksgiving Classic. Do you like tournament games?
I think it's got its benefits and drawbacks too. I wouldn't care if the girls had more time off with their families for Thanksgiving because we are going to have to play and then we're going to practice. But, it's a privilege to get to go and play and to compete. And so, yes, I'm excited for it to get to play new teams and, tougher competition, better. But, also I wouldn't care if I know some of them would be okay with spending some more time with their family. So, yes, I do look forward to the tournament, and I know they do. But, so it's both ways, I think.
I'm gonna pick on you a little bit here. Which classic do you like more, the Thanksgiving Classics or the Ladies Classic?
I like all the classics.
Okay,
yeah.
That's a great answer. That's the perfect answer that you could have given me for that one. But you've got UH this Friday. You've got the Gibbs Thanksgiving Classic next week. Next week's a little bit of a weird week with Thanksgiving. I know that I usually try to sit down with coaches during that week, but it's always if I'm able to. So if I see you next week, hope you get the job done against UH, and we'll see if I get to sit down before or after the Cosby game. But until the next time, Coach, appreciate you once again. Great win the other night, and thank you all for watching this first edition of the Malone Tracker Service Betsy Shaw Show, presented by Critters Corner. We look forward to seeing you next time here on Grassroots Media.